at last.
Yeah, we miss you, Jiggy.
What does that even mean? Freedom, right?
Free at
So,
last.
you're now 18, Jaden.
Yeah.
Congratulations and happy 18th birthday. And
Thank
you
you.
celebrated it, among other things, of course. You celebrated it was it at the Bai Hotel?
Yeah.
You also celebrated it by releasing a brand new song, right?
Oh,
Wow.
yes.
So tell me about the double celebration. Tell me about the debut, the celebration there, and also tell me about your new song. Go ahead.
Okay, so to be honest, my debut was pretty hectic in
Okay.
preparation because May was a very busy month for me. I had my graduation, I had my prom, as well as finals happening around April, and then a competition I joined at the end of that.
Oh, what's the competition that you joined?
Oh, just another business pitch.
Okay. Another one of those school-related competitions?
Yeah, another school-related competition.
Was
which
it
is-
was it also still from the same telco company or it's a different
No,
one?
this one was from Enduran colleges.
Oh, okay. So you were trying to give them business ideas again.
Yes,
Wow,
yes.
yeah.
That was the whole gist of it.
Okay, and then what else did you do? And
then we had
your
prom.
A busy May. Go
Busy
ahead.
May.
Yeah, very busy May. But I tried to enjoy as much of it as I could because I knew it would be the last time I'd be seeing a lot of my batchmates and classmates. So during our grad ball, we had lots of fun, and then my debut, which was right after my graduation, and then I also wanted to release "Too Good to Be True." Actually, when did I want to release it, Steve?
A couple weeks ago lang. Like,
No, I wanted to release it as early as I could, but then we decided na maybe it would be better to have it as like an 18th birthday
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Around the time that you turned.
Yeah, around the time that I turned 18. So a new song and a new chapter of my life.
A new chapter
I
of
like
your
that.
life.
Yeah.
New song, a new chapter.
What does that mean? How does it feel to turn 18? Because we guys, we don't really celebrate debuts, right?
Yeah.
And it's actually
Oh, 21st man for guys, Jiggy, no?
well, it's every day for us guys.
Oh,
Every day is our debut.
I see.
I'll be celebrating my debut very soon too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what does that mean to you, really? I mean, like debuts are big, especially for ladies, right?
Yeah.
With ladies like you. Justine also celebrated her debut. I remember that I was there.
Yeah.
But tell me about how does it feel like to turn legal?
Honestly, not gonna lie, it's been like it's 30th today, right? It's been like 9 days.
Okay.
It's not that different for me.
Okay.
But I think that the celebration that I had definitely made me, it hit reality. I was like, oh, I'm legal now. I'm
Okay.
18 now. There's no excuse. I can't pull the I'm a minor card anymore.
Okay.
And basically, it's me entering womanhood, which I think is such a beautiful thing.
Well, what does that mean?
Entering womanhood. I feel like
What does that
it's
mean?
a very subjective topic to talk about, but it definitely encapsulates a lot of things, like entering womanhood in a sense of how I'm supposed to, like, entering me into society as a woman. So now it's not more of what the world can do for me, but what I can do for the world. That's how I like to think about it. And
Why was that even not possible when you were not 18?
I mean, to be honest, the shift, like me turning 18 wasn't that big of a difference, but
okay.
I think that in tradition, the whole celebration and the whole, having the 18 roses, treasures, candles, it really made me realize how, this is it. I'm actually 18. I can,
It's not
by the law,
it's
I
not
can get arrested.
It's not official.
It's official,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Officially 18.
And you
so
can vote, right?
I can vote
You
now.
can really vote. Yeah.
She's most excited.
I'm so excited
Wow.
about that.
Oh, so did you already register?
Not yet.
right?
Actually, the funny thing was, during the registration,
Laughs in 20. Laughs in the side.
laughs in 25.
Okay.
During the registration, they said that you had to be 18 on or before May 12.
Okay.
And I was like, oh no, mine's on May 21.
Okay.
So I was so bummed that I couldn't register for, the midterm elections. But
Okay.
hopefully I can register as soon as I can and
Okay.
contribute to society in
Okay.
small means of voting.
So when you say contribute to society, I like this conversation, contributing to society, from a lady who just turned 18 last May 12, right? Or
May 21.
May 21, sorry.
Yeah.
So the one and the two, you can actually probably make them libog and say, 21, 12, doesn't matter, right? It's the same numbers.
Yeah.
What does that mean? What kind of a contribution does an 18-year-old like Jaden Narvios have for the world? Go ahead.
Oh.
I think that the beautiful thing.
Jiggy,
Laom king pangutana sa?
Yeah, I feel like I'm on the Miss Universe
Miss
ano
Universe.
right now, like the question.
Yeah, yeah. And you actually have well, I can imagine you having a great answer.
Nah.
Unlike the Miss Universe.
Oh. Oh.
Anyway.
Oh. I think that the beautiful thing about turning 18 and, having another year in general is the fact that you don't know what's ahead of you.
Okay.
And for me, turning 18 is just a new chapter in my life in which I have yet to discover.
Okay.
So it's about, I think, finding myself.
Okay.
As well as finding what I can do to contribute to society. So as of
Finding
now,
yourself.
like in whatever I do, whether it be volunteer work and such, I don't think that it's a very concrete means to contributing to society. But hopefully, in this year that I'm 18, I'll be able to do so much more than what I'm doing now.
So
Just improving in general.
There are labor laws, right?
Labor laws.
That prohibit minors, so to
Minors.
speak.
Yeah.
Right? So now you will not anymore be a minor, right? You're
Yeah.
you're now a major.
I'm now a major.
Not anymore minor.
I can now get a job.
I just had to sneak this idea in because I was just watching an interview with somebody from the Netherlands, I think, who wrote a book called Moral Ambition. He was writing Moral Ambition, and he was actually talking to you, fresh graduates. He was talking about how our ambitions, we should focus also ourselves in areas of the world that need the most help. Most
I
people
agree.
in the Ivy Leagues, right? In the great universities of the world, they end up in the most money-making industries, right? And they don't focus their energy, their intellect, and the resources to the things that need the most help, right?
Yeah.
So this
Good
book
point.
was suggesting that we should have moral ambition. We should figure out a way to get the most influence, most help to the areas of the world that need the most help.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that? Just that Teen and Jaden. This is for both of you, actually, right?
Yeah.
Because both of you, she's going to be a lawyer pretty soon, and I don't know what you're going to take up. Right?
I'm gonna take up marketing on
There
the
you
side.
go.
Yeah.
There you go. So how do you feel about that, guys? How do you feel about moral ambition? How do you feel about going to the industries that don't necessarily make the most money, but can be the industry that needs the most
Yeah.
help, the area of society that needs the most help? In fact, his organization, Moral Ambition, which started in the Netherlands, also opened in the United States. They set up shop in New York. They actually pay people to quit their jobs. They pay people to quit their
Yeah.
jobs and go to the area which needs the most help in society. Let's say, for example, climate change, for
Yeah,
example,
yeah.
and many other things that require the most attention. How do you feel about that?
Well, to be honest with you, Jiggy, I really do believe in moral ambition in itself, the concept of it, because I think that our purpose here on earth is more than just to make money.
Okay.
And it's important for us to focus on marginalized communities and the minorities because making money can only get you so far. And if you are a skilled person put in a money-making industry, that money-making industry, like they say, the rich is just going to get richer and the poor is just going to get poorer.
Exactly.
And I think it's important for us fresh graduates to remember that we are living on this earth not just for ourselves and to make money selfishly, but as stewards of God. And so it's important for us also to contribute to society in the means of focusing on the minorities. Like, for example, I know that there are a lot of industries here that don't make much money, especially in public sectors. But I strongly believe that it's important for us to shift our focus towards them because, believe it or not, we call them the minority because they are, let's say, treated less fairly than others in society. But they're actually the majority because here in the Philippines, in a third world country, there are more people suffering than those who are really the ones making money. And so even if from a business perspective, I would really think that it's important for us to try to make the most money because, a belief of a business person is really to make as much profit as possible. I think it's important to focus on the social side, to be socially responsible innovators as well.
How about you, Ate Justy? How do you feel about that? How do you
Yeah.
feel about the concept, the idea of moral ambition?
Yeah, it's my first time hearing about that, no, but it seems very relatable to going back to Pope Francis in the past. No, he had this ideology of the least, the last, and the lost. No, prioritizing those groups of people that are treated as again the least, the last, and the lost. So I think these ideas maybe they're just being recycled over time or being prioritized under a different name.
Yeah, different name. Yeah.
But that's selflessness
Because
and charity at its best, which is great.
Correct.
Something that we could keep pushing forward. And I think that's a great thing to do. Sometimes people get numb to that idea. Bitang mura ginabugbog na sila ulo nga, prioritize minority, prioritize. So it's important that over time, they come up with these new
Ways of looking at it, right?
Yes, exactly.
In society, we prioritize. For example, I have 2 kids, right? They're
Shout out.
Similar to
Shout out.
both of your ages, right? Maybe see Jaden is slightly younger than Summer, but and I'm sure most parents, even your parents, can relate to this, right? If my kids don't have a high-paying job, don't have a good job, I would look at myself or maybe even them as a failure, right?
Yeah.
Because I want my kids to have a decent living, right? Muna siya ang stereotype, di ba? People always look at putting your kids to school because you want them to have a good paying job.
To be set.
To be set, right? But if they don't get that good paying job and they're just getting by, they're just barely making a living, but they have moral ambition. I don't know. Maybe
do you think that's also something?
Did I put you to school because you just make this much? I don't care about I don't care about this. I don't care about that. I want you guys to have a good life because I put you in the top notch universities of the world, and this is all you have to show for.
Yeah.
That's the common stereotype, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
interesting
Right?
to see a
Yeah.
parent's
It's
perspective.
it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I'd say na for me, even as a fresh graduate, we're always asking ourselves, oh, what course are you gonna take? What course are you gonna take? And so many times I've heard people say, oh, I'm not taking this course because you don't
Lucrative.
make a lot
There's
of
no
money.
Yeah.
But to be honest, it's quite ironic because I feel like in any industry, the more you get promoted, the higher your salary gets, right? But then
And also the more responsibilities and the more you have to you're stuck in whatever it is because you have bigger, more responsibilities too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. So for me, for a high skilled, for example, if a person was super skilled and they'd be put in a money making industry, a really big money making industry, then I would say that you're putting yourself in a pretty competitive environment in which would be harder to thrive in. Yes, you're making more money, but are you really the best there? Compared to if you were a really high skilled person put in a, let's say, an industry that would be struggling, you could be the one that could bring it up and bring it to greater heights.
Okay.
And I think that goes to show how a lot of people nowadays tend to go for the bandwagon effect, what they say, where what their parents say, that's the course that they want to go to just because it's more money making.
Yeah.
But then we also have to realize that there are industries, and I feel like the root cause really comes from the fact that why are the struggling minorities and the societies or the industries that need the most help are the ones that get paid the lowest?
Yeah, that's true.
That's for me
That's the
something
question
that's
there.
really ironic.
Well, it is a resource allocation problem. It's a
From the
resource
government for sure, because
of course, from the government and society in general, right?
Yeah.
Because societies, businesses reward people who can give them more money, right?
Yeah.
Right. Instead of solving something or eliminating or reducing hunger, for example, right? So society doesn't reward those people. They reward people who give them more money because where else is the reward going to be coming from, right?
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
from the money that they made.
Yeah.
Think of it as commission, right?
Yeah.
Right?
You know what? I just remembered something, Jiggy and Nini. Ay, como si-
Meanie!
Nini.
Wow! Did you say Meanie?
No, Nini.
Okay.
N-I-N-I.
I thought I heard Meanie as in
We
Meanie
call her
Me.
Nini at home, Jiggy.
Meanie,
So
okay.
I just remembered something, Nini, something that our parents taught us growing up. Sometimes it's, we have to strike a balance between wanting to be in an industry that is, that makes money, and at the same time wanting to help people, because the way we were raised,
Yeah.
like there's always this question, yes, you want to help people, but how are you supposed to help people without money?
Without
Okay.
the capacity.
Our parents really, place that in our brains when we were younger. Like, it's good that you want to help people, that you
So
want
which
to
one
choose-
comes first?
it's not that it comes first. You have to be smart
Striking
in a
a
way that you can
balance.
strike a balance
Okay.
of both.
Okay.
Because
I mean, maybe not what comes first. Maybe which one do you prioritize? No,
Or
you prioritize
honestly-
both because that's not prioritizing, right?
it's more of like where can you fit yourself
Yeah.
that you can maximize the most of your skills that you can do both. Because I was also at that
Yeah.
route. Sometimes you get confused now when choosing a course. Like, okay, probably like, for example, the reality, there was a time wherein I was also torn between choosing like, there was a time I wanted to do like social work, for example. No, but at that time, with my capabilities, with my capacity, I realized also that the kind of change that I want to make might not be like, it might just be a dream bit of jigging afar off. Okay, I want to do this change, I want to do
Yeah.
that change. But given the resources you have, you don't have money, you don't have Anna. So
I think it's about striking a balance between being a
Yeah.
realist and someone who's ambitious.
Yeah,
Like,
that's why it's
yeah.
called moral
Ambition.
right? And you
Yeah.
don't think small because it's an ambition, right? It's a dream, it's an ambition. So you don't think small. You don't
Yeah.
say small this, small that. Like for example, people are just content with let's just say awareness, right? That's good. Awareness is good, right?
Yeah.
That's good, but
Yeah.
but what are you doing about it? Kutob ra diya sa awareness, diba?
Yeah,
You've got to do
exactly.
something about it. That's why it's called ambition, right?
Yeah.
Because you are trying to do something that is impossible, that is difficult, right?
Yeah.
That's why it's called ambition.
and I
Yeah,
like
have
that
you
you
heard
mentioned that.
Have you heard of Amartya Sen's view on
Who's
it's
a
an
who's a Marxist?
he was an economist.
Okay.
Yeah, and I strongly believe his view in which to help people the most, or the way you can really help people, is by helping them function to their fullest capacity.
Uh-huh.
So they'd say that the three needs of a human are food, shelter, and
Clothing, yeah.
yeah. But then in reality, to sustain your living and to sustain your success, you really need to find a job.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And from an economist perspective, the way to help society from a larger point of view is really to just make sure that you're earning money yourself
Yeah.
first. To make sure you have the
So
capacity.
why not choose an industry that requires the most help and makes you money at the same time, right?
Exactly. I
Right?
think
could be a
that's
good
yeah.
option, no?
Yeah.
I don't think it's one or the other.
Yeah.
Magud said
Yeah.
Nini, no? Like kanang, I don't think it's like you have to choose something that either makes money and then you cannot help society,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or the other.
Yeah.
There's
There
a
are
gray
ways.
area.
Yeah, there's a gray area.
Always.
Because that's the reality. How are you supposed to help people? If you don't have any money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why you go.
You can't help yourself.
You go to an industry. You go to a field of endeavor that allows you to not only make
Help yourself,
money but also help
others.
other people,
Yeah.
right? Win-win.
Win-win. Philanthropist point of view.
That's the goal. That's
Live
the
here
goal.
in the studios of 105.1 TMC, we have Jaden Narvios who just turned 18.
Hello.
Together with her ate, Justine Narvios, my partner for Top of the Morning. And you know what? She has a new song. Is this one of those songs that you, Ate Justin, wrote again? Or this is written by you, Nagyo Jaden?
Well, the skeletal song, the demo.
skeletal. So what does that mean? The skeletal
I don't know.
song.
I'm just throwing words out of my brain.
Skeletal. Did somebody die for this song?
Oh,
It's Halloween version. Halloween version.
maybe not somebody, but maybe some love died.
Oh no!
Oh.
Jaden.
So actually, this
The
song,
original
Astine,
track.
yeah, the
basically.
original track was made by Astine. I call her Astine, sorry.
Okay.
And she made it, funnily enough, inside a hotel room during Odette.
Oh,
Yeah.
Odette.
Yeah.
During Bagyong Odette, we were
Yeah.
stuck in a hotel room. And then
wow.
I had so much free time.
This is Seda.
Seda.
Seda, yeah,
Seda
Seda Hotel.
Okay. Okay.
And then, so Astine, she made this song.
Okay.
And then I think it was December of 2 years ago or December of last
Yeah.
year. Yeah, December of 2 years. No, was it last year? Around November of last year, I said, Astine, you know what I would really like for Christmas? And she said, what? I said, your song, Too Good to Be True. And she's like, yeah, you can have it. I was like, really? Because I really like that song from the get-go. And I think I rediscovered it when I was using my laptop and I found Astine's old demos.
Okay.
Oh my God.
And
they're
I was
so
like,
bad.
So
Oh.
you actually sang that.
I had old demos in this. We have this one laptop, and then I have my demos there. Then I ended up giving that laptop to Jaden. So the demos were still there. The really bad demos, Jigiba, from the Benignit.
The Benignit.
From the Benignit.
From the what?
From the Benigning.
What do you mean from the beginning?
From the Benigning.
Okay, it was just recorded in
It was
the
just
laptop,
there.
right?
So Jaden listens to it, and she's always the first to listen to my demos. Actually,
Okay.
it's always her and my mom, and she always gives a really good input on the lyrics, on the melody, and all that. So she liked the song, and she asked if she could have it, and I feel like it's much more suitable for her.
Okay.
The message, the voice, also, and the way that she sings it, it's really more for her. So when she asked for it, I was like, go for it. And I'm glad that she wanted to remix the lyrics para mas tailored into her context. So she changed the lyrics a lot.
So what was the context? What was the original context, and how did she
Okay.
reshape the context? Go ahead. Maybe
So-
maybe Justine can tell you what
Original.
exactly
Yeah.
what she wanted to
Okay.
do with
Okay,
the
how
song.
we've never done this
Yeah.
yet.
So
Yeah.
what was just or too good to be true about for you, Justine? Go ahead.
Yeah, too good to be. It's so funny, Jiggy, because like these are so kanang. Okay, this is my Delulu era, you guys.
Delulu
You know
area.
what Delulu means,
Sure,
Jiggy?
bro.
Delusion, right?
Yeah, delusional.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was very delusional. Like it's basically just a song about talking about a love or someone that you appreciate that you feel like is too good to be true.
Okay.
Like, you know what? The way that this person takes care of you, the way that this person loves, or this kind of love in general, is
Okay.
just too good to be true.
Okay.
So it's meant to be like a slow love song. It's meant to be something that a lot of people can sing along to.
Okay.
That was the original vibe.
So was that from experience, or that was
Oh.
just an idea that's lurking in your head?
It's funny, Jiggy, because it's really embarrassing because it was just based off like some celebrity that
A K-pop idol.
K-pop idol that I found to be like, you know, this person, this idol is very ethereal. Like their face is too good to be true. That
Yeah.
was the whole concept around
Yeah,
it at
yeah.
that time when I
Okay.
wrote this. Like,
Can you-
fictional but fictional?
Can you give an original quote from your original lyrics?
Which part? Which part should we?
The one that I changed.
Okay, which part? Which part then?
The pre-chorus, the can't go to sleep.
I forgot how that goes.
All right. So for context,
Okay, you give them
The-
the original and then how you changed it.
Astine's original lyrics was, "I can't go to sleep, but boy, I don't mind staying up long as you're by my side."
Mm.
It's really in love, and she really encapsulated that,
Simp.
love you have for a K-pop idol.
What a simp.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the original.
Yeah, that's the
lyrics.
original
Okay.
concept.
And how did you change it?
Well, for me, personally, I don't know if it. I really like the lyrics as is because I was also thinking about that K-pop idol, but I think that
Who is this? Who is this guy? Who is this
Oh
K-pop
my
idol?
God.
Who is this?
NCT Jaehyun.
DJ Hun.
It's
So-
as what?
NCT is the group, and
Jiggy,
then,
please forgive us. We were like, okay,
Sorry.
we were bored kids. Okay, I'm not even a kid. I was freaking like 20 years old at this time. We were bored. It was the pandemic. We were in our K-pop era.
Okay.
Yeah.
So please forgive us for like, it's
From
basically fangirling crap.
NCT.
NCT.
Okay.
Yeah.
This particular
My goodness.
vocalist.
Yeah.
Member of the band,
Member
right?
of the
Yeah.
band.
And this was like, was he in love or linked with somebody else? Like with,
No,
with a-
he just really looked good.
okay.
It just looks like
And
So
sang-
too good to be true.
You were fantasizing.
yeah, but
Yeah.
Right? Pretty.
Like,
Oh,
you know what?
okay.
Like the person that we imagine, like the central idea
Okay.
is someone who looks too,
Too
good to be true. Or
true.
acts too good
Yeah.
to be true.
Yeah.
Something like that.
You know, I heard somebody once say that the worst thing that could have ever happened to your idols is to meet them.
Oh.
Yeah, so we
I-
should
So-
never meet them then. Should never go to their
But you
concert.
should never meet me, Astine.
So how do you?
Wait, Jiggy, but it's not the worst Liggy that we've met you.
You. Sip, sip.
Yeah, I'll continue putting you on there. Don't worry. I'm just kidding. So
Right next, Jaden songs to the play.
So how did you change it up?
Change it.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was her original intention. So
Yeah.
How has the message of the song changed ever so slightly, if ever, or a major way?
Well, for me, based on my own, like how I think generally about love, and from my, based on what I think, I usually think that, when someone treats you so well, and because I think it's from the lack of experience, but you know how when a guy treats you so well, you start to doubt and think, hey, this is too good to be true.
Nakasa ni siya? You know what I mean? Sometimes like
So nice to me.
somebody just all of a sudden
Yeah.
gives you flowers and gifts. No, so ni siya.
No, like you ask
Being so
yourself.
nice to me all of a sudden, huh?
Exactly. And for me, it's more of the doubt that every girl has when
Okay.
a guy starts treating them so well. You start to think, wait, is this too good to be true? And in the lyrics that I tried to put as well, I tried to make it seem like, a guy can say so much, but it's really their actions that speak louder.
Okay.
And so for me, that's what
yeah.
really proves that it is true and that's not too good to be true.
Okay.
Because, what you say a lot of the time can be way too good to be true. And that's what I tried to capture in the song. How, I'm not believing you just yet, but it's your actions that speak
So it's
louder.
her version is more of like the doubty version.
Yeah, the doubt,
Jiggy.
like doubting.
And mine's more
yeah.
of like the simp version of like, it's all lovey-dovey. And
But it's interesting how we came up with similar but different concepts with the same title, Too Good to Be True.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that Jaden was able to bring the song to life, Jiggy, and make it her own. The original demo was really different, and even in the way that I sang it and the way that Jaden sings it, because she really is comfortable with it. And also the vibe of the song.
Speaking of vibe, I've always known you first as a dancer, then a singer next, right? And I'm quite surprised that this is actually a kind of a love song. It is a love song, right?
Big song, diba?
So I was expecting you to make like dance songs, right?
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Were you surprised that you gravitated to the song, or was there an urge for you to make this like a dance song?
I see. Okay, so actually,
Question.
that's a great question
Okay.
because this is something I get asked quite a lot, especially, because I'm a dancer
Mm-hmm.
before anything. And so throughout my years in Viva, when I was told that I would have to start singing, I really struggled in finding my voice, finding what suited my sound as well as what I felt like I wanted to do. But I think that throughout my years of discovering different types of music and throughout my years of trying to find myself and in the music that I like to do, I really found comfort in those R&B type love songs just because I like listening to a lot of artists who do those type of music, and I think that my voice suits that more than trying to force it to do something more danceable.
Okay.
So for Too Good to Be True, we actually wanted it to be as raw as possible. The people suggested to put, a beat behind it, even
Other instruments, and all
drums, a
that.
beat drop maybe. But then I wanted it to stay as is because I think that really encapsulates the rawness and the, what's the word? Like, like the romantic feeling of the song.
Or bitog ka ng, it's like when someone's just singing giharana ka in
Yeah.
your room. Like
Yeah.
if you're in the same room with someone playing the piano or playing the guitar.
Guitar.
With you. So then that's the vibe that Jaden was going for.
Yeah, and you can still always make it into a dance song later on, right? In the
Yeah,
same
later
way
on.
that you
Remix version.
you made Waves the chill
An acoustic
version, right?
But
So
that's something she always gets asked a lot, Jiggy. Like, it's ironic but how she's a hardcore dancer, competition dancer, hip-hop and all that. But when it comes to singing, the songs that she likes to sing is completely opposite.
okay.
It's soft songs, it's acoustic songs, R&B. So I think that also, for me, I like that about her because it provides a sense of like duality.
Mhm.
Nga, okay, she can sing soft songs, but she can also, when it's time to dance.
But I think that's when the struggle really comes in. Like, for example, in my debut, for reference, the type of performance that I had to do in the start couldn't be a sing and dance number just because I couldn't sing as powerful as I could dance and I couldn't dance as gracefully as I could sing. And so they had to be separate numbers. And I think that shows how there's also a struggle in mixing these two different interests, not just dance and song, but at the same time, the different genres. And I still am trying to figure out how I'm going to go forward, how we're going to combine it.
That's actually a very, very interesting topic, right? Because we know that K-pop has kind of sort of mastered this whole dancing and singing thing, right?
Yeah.
Because when you actually see, let's just go back 10, 20, 30 years ago, when you see, let's say, for example, Madonna or Janet Jackson or even the Jackson 5 perform and they're singing and dancing at the same time, you can tell that the vocals or the distance of the microphone is ever changing, right? And they're gasping for air and all of that stuff. Makabantay jud ka nga live gyud siya kay naghangos gud si Janet Jackson, for example, right? Fast forward to today, the K-pop artists usually, correct me if I'm wrong, lip sync it.
Yeah,
They don't really sing it because you can tell because maghangos man ka gud, like if you're so kapoy in dancing, right? You're gonna and,
for sure.
You can hear it, right? So how do you feel about the challenge? Are you tempted to just lip sync the song and dance and all of that stuff, or did you do? Is that what you did?
Well, as a dancer, it's not that different. It's not something new to be lip syncing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Because the performance is really in how you perform the song itself. But I think that as a performer and as a artist, I think it would be I wouldn't want to lip sync,
Okay.
especially if it were a song that was mine. Just because I feel like when you pay for a performance or when you want to see a performance live, you want to see it live. But strategically speaking, in the case that practically speaking, it would be so much better to lip sync because then you can focus on the visual element of the dance or like the
how it
visual
looks.
performance. But then not practically, like
But then
from an art perspective, it would defeat the purpose to be lip syncing.
Yeah, but there's actually a way for people to sort of lip sync, sort of not. Mura bitog ang
Backing.
ang minus one niya na ikantang gamay, right? So pwede lang ka magsingit-singit lang ka diha bitaw.
I've done that
Oh,
a
yeah?
couple
MR?
times. Yeah.
What do you call that? That's like an improvised -1. What is that? -2?
I heard it's like MR, like
What does MR mean?
I don't know. In K-pop, they call it that, like MR.
I know, like
What-
monitor.
I think it means like there's just a little bit of a backing track
Yeah.
in the instrumental
To
help
guide you,
out,
yeah.
guide you.
Yeah.
And the backing track's your voice anyway, so it's the same thing.
But like Blackpink was here in town, at least in Manila, a few months ago, right? Or was it last year?
Yeah.
And most of the songs that they did were actually lip synced, right?
Like that. too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think the landscape of entertainment is changing
Yeah.
also now. Jiggy.
You would be vilified. You would be slaughtered
In
at
the-
the stake
back in the
back in the
day.
80s,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
Milli Vanilli, the band Milli Vanilli, na banda tong unang Milli Vanilli, and they found out that they were lip syncing. They got banned pretty much, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think
Pero now-
it really differs on
On the era,
how
right?
open-minded you could be also in the entertainment industry. Because when it comes to lip syncing, that's still your voice at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You're not cheating anyone. The only difference is you're not singing it live,
Mm-hmm.
which, it really depends on how you'd like to think about it. But for me, personally, I think the compromise that you're talking about, which is having a backing vocal, as well as, what I do usually, because when I dance, or when my choreographer makes the steps for example, Maniwala and Say It, there's no break to sing. And so I think that the
Yeah,
way you can
hardcore
compromise is to have parts of the song that are singing and then you'll sing again and then it will sing and you'll sing. So it's like tubag-tubag ba?
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, you don't have to gasp for air because it also, realistically speaking, would you rather see a lip-synced wow performance or a performance of a person gasping for air,
But it's mid.
struggling to even
Yeah.
dance? Like, it happens a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, when you watch concerts with artists like Mariah Carey,
Yeah.
we're talking about the artists of the past, right? Maghangos gud sila.
Yeah,
Maghangos
yeah.
good. Like, you can really tell nga, nga lahi gyud ilang tingog ba because again, they're gasping for air, right?
Yeah, but I feel like there's also beauty in that rawness if you're able to pull it off well with enough practice.
Yeah.
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 It really depends, like what floats your boat, what's entertaining to you.
Yeah.
Because I remember we watched this film just recently, Jiggy, because the theme of her debut was the glitz and glamour of old Hollywood. Diba?
Oh, what
Yeah.
movie did you watch?
So we watched a film called Burlesque.
Burlesque.
Burlesque. Yeah, okay.
It's not necessarily related to her film, but the elements are the
Burlesque, huh?
same. Yeah. Christina Aguilera.
Okay.
One of her favorites. So it's not necessarily related to her debut theme, pero in the sense
Hindi
ba
man
about,
Moulin
like,
Rouge.
Oh, kanina na,
Yeah.
Moulin
Yeah.
Rouge, Cabaret. And then
Yeah.
we're talking about the history of that and how it started in, like, for example, in France. And
Okay.
and then, we came to realize over research that what was entertaining back in the day also, I don't know what era this was that people, these cabaret dancers, these kind of mga Moulin Rouge dancers, they would lip sync. So it's a full-on performance. They don't actually sing live, but it was entertaining for people to see them lip sync mga songs of Marilyn Monroe and then that type. So I really think it really depends. Entertainment is a changing landscape.
Fluid,
It's
yeah.
evolving.
Fluid. And as a performer, you need to be fluid as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you want to be practical, if it's difficult for you to sing and dance live, I don't think it's such, like, people shouldn't be kind of held at gunpoint nowadays as they were before for not singing live. Lahi naman yun ang time. Really depends lang yun on the uso.
Mhm.
So, with that example, nga it used to be uso before nga mag-lip sync sa
Yeah.
mga cabaret, karon more ni balik naman pod. So it's
Yeah, but even in burlesque, it's evident how when you sing, there's less dance.
Yeah.
And when you dance, you don't need to sing.
Yeah. Actually, if you think about it now, in the current landscape of music, nakabantay mga wala na kay mga banda-banda.
Yeah, that's
There's no more
true.
bands, right? The reason for that, of course, is that bands are more instrumentation, vocal centric, right? But karon mga performances karon mga kuan naman puros mga dance centric naman, right?
Yeah.
So that has changed. That landscape has changed, and these band members, these bands, you can't let them dance because they're holding a guitar or they're in the drums,
holding
right?
instruments,
Yeah.
so it's
So
different
so
also.
so they can't. So nawagtang yun ang mga banda-banda. If you look at the charts now,
That's true, that's
wala
true.
na kayo mga bands like like bands like Journey and U2 and Blink-182, although they still exist, but they don't have songs in the charts anymore. Kanang kadaghanan sa mga music acts
Karon.
karon are what we call vocal groups, na diba?
Yeah.
Like vocal or solo artists like
So I
like
wonder
yourself.
what's gonna
right?
be the landscape in the future, Jiggy. What's gonna be the uso? Like, are bands gonna make what's your prediction?
My
Jiggy?
big bold
Ikaw,
prediction.
you've been-
Oh, no.
You've
It's
been
all-
in the
it's-
music industry.
yeah.
Technically, you've
Yeah.
been working in this industry for like 30 years.
Yeah, I started when I was 2 years old. Yeah,
Of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
You've been playing so many songs, no? Looking
Since
at,
2 years old.
You've
Yeah,
been watching the charts every single day, so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know good
yeah.
how the uso changes. What is your prediction in the next 10
Well-
years?
well,
What's gonna be the the big act? What's gonna be the type of music or type of performers that people are gonna want to see?
You know, an uso is always a response to an uso, right? It's always a response.
Uso's response to an uso.
Na uso, for
Yeah.
example, I'll give you an example. Back in the 80s, there was a glamour rock. There was a glamour rock, meaning to say they were like,
Bon
like
Jovi?
Bon Jovi, like big-haired
The
bands
makeup.
with makeup,
Yeah.
right? And leather jackets and all of that was called glam
Glamour
rock.
rock.
Glamour rock.
What's the response to that?
The opposite.
Grunge, because grunge was people look like
T-shirt na.
they look like they didn't take a bath,
Bitaw, no?
like Kurt Cobain, his oily hair and his
You just gave to Kurt Cobain. You just I know his name.
yeah.
But that's true though.
Yeah,
grunge rock.
that's true. I mean, like,
Wailigo.
and instead of like happy rock, it was like angry.
The other side of the spectrum.
Yeah. So I suspect that whatever is the opposite of K-pop, whatever is the opposite of the uso now, will be the next uso. Somebody once said that it's easy to spot a trend. Just look at where everybody is going, and what would the opposite of that look like? That's going to be the next trend. For example, jeans. I thought we talked about this, right? Skinny jeans, right? Uso ka skinny jeans, right?
He hates big jeans.
Unsa may uso karon, di ba? Bukhad na,
Yeah.
di ba?
Jaden loves.
I love baggy
flare,
jeans.
baggy jeans.
So
Jiggy hates those. Jiggy hates those.
Opposite yun na siya. It's usually the opposite.
That's a good prediction.
That will be the next uso.
Jaden, what do you think would
Yeah,
be?
both of you.
What
Both
is
of you.
the opposite then now? Because I can't imagine like what's gonna be uso in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Kind of music.
Well, first of all, what is the uso now?
Well, I feel like the uso now is
Musically.
definitely like the maximalist point of view.
What is that? What is a maximalist as opposed to the minimalist?
Like
the maximalist is?
You see how in K-pop, it's all this glamour, this makeup, these outfits.
Like it's a full production.
It's a full production.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future it would be something, but you see, it's already happening now.
No, but I think it's gonna be more encouraged. Like these big, for example, these artists in the charts now, they pay so much money for their music videos. It's like a full production sets and all that. Maybe the opposite side of the spectrum is that like they're just gonna do self-film. I think
No,
they're
you
just
see
gonna put
how,
their
like,
phone out and
that-
be like, "Hi guys, this is my song."
That happened in the pandemic, no?
Yeah.
In the pandemic.
Everyone switched to
Yes,
that.
Everyone did that like
Yeah.
home version, like
But I think
intimate version.
it's maybe a way of making it seem more relatable.
That's a technological change we're talking about, right? That's not the other side of what the phone is capturing, right? That's a technological change.
How about like in the sense of the music in itself?
The art form itself.
The art form.
oh my goodness, yeah, I see it now.
You see what
You know how like those kanang relatable sa mong theme ba, diba? Like mga 60s songs. Have you noticed like the trending songs now on TikTok, Jiggy, are like old songs?
Old
like,
songs,
Little
correct, yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
You know that song, Jiggy, that's
What's that?
everywhere?
What's that?
Like,
Pretty
you
little
can ask the
flowers. I sit for hours.
What's that song?
It's like a famous song right now. It's on everyone's like
But what is that
videos.
song? What's the title?
Pretty little baby.
The artist
so
is?
old, Jiggy. It's like
Lucy. I forgot the name of the
60s or
artist.
something.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so what about that?
so you're right.
It's coming back. I think my theory is that not that it's in the other side of the spectrum, but music, just like fashion, comes back.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
It all
comes back.
It's all
'Cause,
a
like,
cycle.
The songs we're all listening to, people are making fun on TikTok that
Okay.
like, oh, I listen to dad music.
Okay.
And then dad music's not so far away. It's like, you know how like
Yeah,
the
this song.
Cranberries.
Everyone uses this song on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Pretty Little Baby. And the music's coming back. I think that's also what influenced my theme for my debut, is my love for old music,
She
which
likes
is
old
coming back.
style, good. Elvis,
Yeah.
she's a huge fan of Elvis.
I love
also.
Elvis.
So maybe mubalik
Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
So maybe mubalik na kanang style ni Elvis now.
Yeah,
I
Who
hopefully.
knows? Who
Yeah,
knows?
like who's that? The one who sang "All I Dream of Is Your Eyes"? Elliot John Ray.
But I forgot the artist.
Yeah, he's literally Elvis coming back.
Oh.
At this
okay.
time,
Did you
yeah.
guys watch that Elvis biography movie?
Of
Yeah, we
course,
love that.
we
Baz
love it.
Luhrmann. I love
Yeah.
Baz Luhrmann.
Yeah.
Hats,
Yeah.
hats off.
But did you guys watch? Speaking of movies about artists, The Complete Unknown. You should watch that too. Oh my God.
Why? Who's biopic of who?
Bob Dylan. About
Oh.
Timothy Chalamet.
yeah.
Oh, we have yet.
Jiggy, it's so bad how like
It's
I remember it from the artist.
It's already on. Is it on Disney or Netflix? It's already up.
Time to stream.
Just got recently added.
Maybe HBO. I don't know. One of
No, it's not. It's not because we
Disney
don't.
or I don't know.
I can't afford HBO. I can only afford two. I can only afford two. So I chose Disney and Netflix.
Okay, so that's a Timothy Chalamet one, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's an Netflix.
This is the same
Yeah.
reaction when I was telling Jaden, we should watch the new Austin Butler movie, and she's like,
Yeah.
"You mean Elvis?" So
Yeah.
I'm always
Yeah.
just looking at the actor
No, because like
first.
you were a big fan of Elvis, and then later on I realized I don't think you're a fan of Elvis. I think you're a fan of the actor.
Okay.
Not
Yeah.
Elvis.
It's like,
Bias na.
I'm
but,
listening.
but this Timothy Chalamet, you're also a fan of.
I'm a fan
Oh,
of
yes.
Timothée Chalamet, yeah.
Oh
So
yes.
It's the other way around. We're
Okay.
watching it for Timmy first.
You know,
and then-
Timmy.
Bob Dylan, although he's kind of a Western icon, right? He's not really
Yes.
for Asians. I mean, we don't really have a Bob Dylan song here that made it big. But the story of Bob Dylan is beautiful, and you should be able to watch
Okay,
it and
let's see
enjoy
it.
it.
I
right?
can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah, you
Watch
should.
it soon.
And they also talked about Joan Baez. You know, I'm sure you're familiar with that voice. Joan Baez, one of the most iconic voices of the 60s, is also part of that movie. And you
It's
should-
part of the film.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ang kani si Bob Dylan, what time? Like what?
60s and 70s, you know.
60s or
yeah,
70s.
Yeah, 70s, yeah.
We should watch it. We should watch
I'm excited. I like
Yeah.
movies set in the 70s.
Yeah, there was
like
another
Elvis.
film Jiggy kept suggesting for you to watch.
Which one was that?
The one about Hollywood.
Once Upon a Time
Leo.
in Hollywood.
Yeah, we haven't seen that one
Yeah.
yet. But you said it's
You know, the
very
beauty of
ano,
that,
diba?
the beauty of that, I think it was a Quentin Tarantino movie, right? And the beauty of that movie is that the portrayal of Hollywood and all of its different
Aspects.
landmarks and structures and all of that were so true, were so realistic. And see, that's the thing now with Hollywood. Murag nag-ingon sila nga Hollywood is on the decline, right? Aside from the fire that happened,
Oh.
right?
In
In LA, the pandemic and all of that stuff, and a lot of these Middle Eastern and even Chinese, Asian investors are luring the big stars to their studios in the Middle East, to their studios in China and in Asia, right? They're all over the place.
The K-drama industry is big.
Yeah.
Bollywood is
Yeah.
also big. So,
So-
the
Yeah.
competitors na ba?
So the biggest advantage of the United States, which was Hollywood, is under threat. So it's kind of an interesting,
Take side,
sort of like a power adjustment.
Yeah.
The central power of the film industry perhaps
It
is
has
slowly
shifted.
it has shifted to another country, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Let me give you an example. Even Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible, I think,
Oh,
is
yes.
produced.
Have you seen it?
Not yet.
Me too.
Oh, we haven't seen it yet.
Let's go, Jiggy.
Oh, we have
Uh,
to see it. We have to see it.
What you should watch is Lilo and Stitch.
Oh,
you should watch that.
Jiggy,
yeah.
let's do it.
Yeah,
You've seen it already?
yeah, I did. Yeah,
Guys,
Yeah,
go
yeah.
check out Jiggy's page. You'll see him kind of like surfing
Sur-
siya.
yeah.
There was like a surfboard he
Yeah,
was
I did.
standing on.
There was like they brought Siargao to SMC side
Yeah.
a few weeks ago.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a monumental task. But anyway, so yeah, you guys should watch Lilo and Stitch. In case you're wondering what you're listening to Justine Narvios and her baby sister Jaden Narvios.
Or not so baby na
Not so
siguro.
baby, and she's actually here to talk about her music, her new song. So, Jaden, now that you have all the time in the world, I think at least temporarily,
No,
right?
no.
Does this mean that you're going to be making more music, more songs?
Oh.
Is a traditional album one of the options here? Tell us. Go
An
ahead.
album. Honestly, there's one more song that we're working on right now. Oh my god, sorry. I'm pretty excited about this song as well because it's another demo of Astine's that I like
Okay.
and I found in the laptop.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So this is the thing, Jiggy. I have so many trash demos. Like I
That's
just
not trash.
Trash demos.
I call them trash demos.
Why is it trash?
Okay, like
Hey, you know what they say? Another man's trash, another man's treasure.
You know what? That's funny that you talked about that because most of the time we hear stories about, the last addition to the album, like the 13th song that
Yeah.
almost didn't quite make it is actually the one that becomes a hit,
Yeah.
because see, the thing is, songs, just like any art form, if you put it out there, it has a life of its own. It's no longer
That's
just
true.
Oh,
yours, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a belief
Yeah,
in
yeah.
art, no? Like how when you put your art out in the world, it's not yours anymore.
not-
'cause
it-
it's
yeah.
subject to interpretation.
Yeah.
I'm just grateful that Jaden actually likes my demos, Jiggy.
Okay.
Even though I find them trash demos, like
Okay.
there are times when she's like, Astine, you know
What,
I
why
think
do you
I can
why do you call it trash? What do you mean by that? What does that mean?
trash?
How-
It sounds so ano,
Okay.
Maybe because I can't relate to it anymore, and at the time that I made it, siguro it feels so more a gear. I feel like the songs also have a shelf life in my mind.
Okay.
So when I
But see, the thing is, the song may occupy a place in your mind, but the idea, if you release it, is it'll also occupy in the
Someone
minds of
else's.
other people,
That's
right?
true. Ay, just my feeler na ko. Di kaya na ko feel na ba? So I'm like, yeah, I
Murag
don't
gut
feel it
feel na
anymore.
siya, gut feel.
I mean, I
Yeah.
don't like it for myself
Okay,
na,
okay.
but I know that if si Jaden mo sing, I think it would be so much better. Like,
Okay.
You know.
Yeah, I think along with me finding myself in music, Astine is also evolving as an artist.
Okay.
Oh, maybe
So
that's
the
it.
type
Wow.
of music that she creates now, or the type of demos that she makes now, are growing as she grows. Not sideways,
Hey!
but are growing
She is
as
body
she
shaming,
grows
y'all. She's
as
body
an
shaming.
artist. So, for example, the types of demos Astine makes now, I would say, like for example, Waves. You compare Waves to
Thanks,
Good to
man.
Be True. Look at the freaking deep, mature lyrics of Waves, and then here goes Too Good to Be True, talking about like the light kind of love. So I think that it goes with age, and it also goes with the context and situation that you're
She's
in.
just saying I'm old in the nicest
In
way.
the nicest way. I'm
You know what?
trying.
I had this interesting conversation. I don't know if you can relate to this conversation I had with Insoy Ninyal, the lead vocalist of Missing Philemon. And I was asking about song making, songwriting, and even singing. And I was asking about what's your secret? And he told me you've got to find your why. You gotta,
Your purpose.
Why are you writing songs? What for? And his why was
nice.
he really loved the Bisaya language, and he wanted to be able to help people and himself through the band express the culture through Bisaya, right? Because we talked about this a lot. Language is culture. So do you guys have like a why? Why are you?
Tell me
I
why.
think ain't nothing but sorry, it just happens. We can't really.
Because of course not. You're singers.
But what is
Well,
our why?
I think that it's important to find, like you said, the why and not to find the X.
Okay.
Ala!
Oh,
Oh, lahi sa na.
Lahi sa
The X.
Math, money, math.
math. But I think my why definitely comes from passion
Okay.
and love for music. But I think it all started, for example, in Maniwala, how I realized the power of music and the power for music to, uplift others.
Make them feel
Especially
good.
during the pandemic, as music lovers, we really seen the power of how music can really change your mood in a good way and in a bad way. But at the same time, I think it goes deeper than just releasing something on the internet
Yeah.
for yourself. You also have to think about what your music can do for others. So for me, the why right now is really just out of passion.
Pero, I'm really thankful that you like the songs that I write for you. But
Yeah.
would you ever consider trying writing on your own?
I think
Would you
baby
practice?
steps, baby steps.
No?
Because like for Too Good to Be True,
You already did that.
I rewrote the melody that you had. I rewrote like the second part completely, but it was so hard. But I also wanted to make sure that I wasn't butchering the song that Asti made.
Butchering the song.
Yeah,
Butcher
that was
said, "Oy."
my fear, Jude. But I think maybe in the future I can try, because when you were my age, you wrote Towards the Sun.
When you were a baby.
Yeah. When you were
Yeah.
18. So I think maybe I could stem to that when I feel more comfortable. Siguro.
Yeah.
Jump out of
And
my
also-
comfort zone.
Yeah, and aside from your comfort zone, when you can relate to things, maybe now is the time, Jaden, that you should explore writing mga love songs, mga
You're no longer a baby, right?
yeah.
You know what, Ate Justin, I have a question for you. Yeah. You were 18 once, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Long time.
About what was it, 20 years
7
ago?
years.
20
Oh,
years.
20 years ago?
20 years ago.
I'm just kidding. You're not that old. What is your message to your
my.
little sister who just turned 18? What should she expect from here on in?
Oh, that's a very good question, no?
Sounds like a debut question.
Yeah, it sounds like what you say to them.
Thank you for the beautiful question.
But I was, Jaden, she just graduated and she asked me, Astine, what can I look forward to in college? Is it ever gonna be the same? And I really told her the reality is, for me personally, I feel like high school is the best time of your life, and college and work.
I agree.
and,
Yeah.
it's a whole different landscape. So it's only gonna get more different. I wouldn't say it's gonna get better from here or you're always gonna go up. The reality of life is that like a new chapter is a new phase. It's always going to be something different. So just try to make the most out of it. That's what I would always tell her. And really just put yourself out there and explore as much as you can. That's why I'm excited for her to do new things like writing songs, taking up college, having a different schedule.
Ew, college.
She's like, yeah, meeting new people, giving people chances.
Oh, can you
like,
stop?
Like giving people a chance.
Okay, we'll
like,
stop
What is
now.
that? What is that? What does that mean? I don't understand. What does that mean? Giving people chances. What does that mean?
like the reality, Jiggy, when you move to
Okay.
a different phase of your life, you
Okay.
meet new people, right?
Okay, okay.
And sometimes people also the kinds of relationships that
Down,
you have
down,
with
okay.
people, they change over time.
Of course.
So it also grows with you. So I'm telling Jaden to be open to that, ba?
Okay. Open to.
Open to that, like
Are you open-minded?
You know what they say.
Be
You
open
can
to that
you can
chiki ba?
you can have your mind open, but don't make it too open that your brain will fall off.
out.
Exactly.
Right?
Balance.
Yeah.
That's true.
I'm gonna
But
use it
diba,
now.
Jiggy, that's the truth. Like you'll meet new friends, you'll meet new people. The friends that you have before might not stay friends anymore. So
Yeah.
like you have to be open
Yeah.
to that. But I tell her, just put yourself out there. Like
Yeah.
be ready for what might come and go in your life.
Yeah, but usually I see a lot of friendships that
Fade out, fizzle
fade out. But I
out.
also have, like for example, my dad. He still hangs out with his kababatas now at
that's
80 years
nice.
old, right?
Yeah.
Every year we would have like 10, 12 of his friends who are still
From
alive.
high school, mga
from
na.
from before, even before that, mga neighbors niya ba
Yeah,
when
yeah.
he lived in Tres de Abril a long time ago. And also, I still get in touch with my high school classmates.
Yeah,
My
diba?
friend Jaime Rufin Jr. just arrived from the States today, and he just
Hi,
messaged
hi,
me.
Mr. Jaime.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Jaime.
So
Welcome.
you know what I mean? Like I think there's always a longing for something from the past, right? Because
Nostalgia.
nostalgia, yeah, that's what it's called. Because there's like we always romanticize the past, that it's the
That's so
good
true.
old days. They're not necessarily true, but once it's already done, like a thing called the past, it's sort of like a complete picture, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you have a
All
complete
just
picture
memories.
of that, and then
So it's
you,
nice to look back on
and
them
then you
with a
revisit that
smile.
and hope that it's still the same, but sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
So that's why it's frustrating, right?
Yeah.
Like
That's
you
deep.
you meet this friend, and then you think that he's still that friend of yours that you goofed
to-
around with
play
when you were in
when
high
you're
school,
kids.
Uh-huh.
and all of a sudden he's got responsibility, he's got problems, and he's got this and that.
Or ikaw
Yeah,
mismo.
yeah, and
Yeah,
then and then
yeah.
you both of
You
you
also
change, right?
change,
And then
yeah.
and you talk to them, and you expect them to be that person, but they're no longer that. They're probably the complete
Yeah.
opposite of that person they once were 30,
Yeah.
20 years ago.
So that's something that you have to be prepared for.
Yeah.
So that's why I told her, just be
Like
open.
you know what they say, you never know the value of a moment until it passes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. You never know the value of
And
a moment until it passes.
That's why it's important to people who journal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why
Because
I like journaling
so you
too.
know who you were back then.
Yeah.
And then you look at
It's really interesting.
What a stupid child, you know. You know what I mean? Like your
Yeah.
thoughts back then, right?
Oh my gosh. Speaking of which, I found my old planner and like diary from the pandemic.
Oh my God, really? That not too long
And
ago,
you
right?
can really say how your ambitions changed throughout
Okay.
the years.
All right.
That's true.
And the type, like the way you talk,
Okay.
The problems you had
the
back
problems
then.
you had back then,
Yeah.
they become so little when they're in your memories. Because then you think that you couldn't, like you would think in the pandemic. My pandemic self, I think like, oh, damn, I'm never gonna go to the mall again. I'm never gonna eat ice cream that's not microwaved again. Like that.
Yeah, we did that.
What? Microwaved ice cream?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's chocolate ice cream, that's called sikwati, right? What
Yeah,
what
I
does
mean-
microwave ice cream mean?
Microwave and freeze it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we.
Because you
we're very
kill the
paranoid.
germs.
So what do you have to microwave the refrigerator too, right?
Actually,
If you think
like,
about it.
if we have food from takeout, we don't trust the ones who prepared it.
Okay.
Basin,
Yeah,
we
like
never
the
know.
McFlurry,
Yeah.
pour it into a mug
Oh
and then
my God,
microwave
really?
it
Okay.
and then
Freeze
freeze
it
it.
again.
Which gives me an opening to talk about one thing before we talk about
Yeah.
go back to music.
Yeah.
Everybody's panicking now. At least some of people that I know are panicking about this whole Mpox thing, right?
Yeah.
And it may or may not be a pandemic. We don't know yet, but it looks like people are kind of panicking. So I want us to talk about because you guys were in the forefront because of Revo
Yeah.
during the pandemic, right? And you knew what was going on, and you saw it firsthand, especially because you're part of Revo. Your dad is part of Revo, and you were there at SEDA. I heard, and you were hunkered down there, and you had like the ambulance, and you would just go to the places that needed the most help, right? So my question, I guess, is what do you think were the lessons of the pandemic that we can talk about now and revisit and perhaps remind people so we can be ready for the next? And this may or may not be the next, but Mpox is already here.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think? Who wants
Yeah.
to start? Like, what's the one lesson that you guys can remember, which is most important, and we can learn from
The
moving
pandemic.
forward? Yeah.
Yeah. I think practically speaking or technically speaking, a question we have to ask ourselves is the health sector in the Philippines really ready for another pandemic?
Mm-hmm.
Because ready or not, it comes,
Yeah,
you know.
okay.
The diseases, they come, these viruses, they're just coming.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that one thing we can learn from in the pandemic, especially, you know, because of Revo, we were really able rather to see the struggles of the health sectors, for example, in hospitals, in catering to many patients, as well as basically, I think it has something to do with the lack of personnel, which
Mhm.
is definitely a struggle. But I think that because of what happened in the pandemic, we should also find a way to strategize with the lack of personnel and, you know, the lack of
Mm.
resources that we have for the next future, you know, diseases like Mpox or something like that. Because I feel like it would be such a shame if we were to encounter the same exact problems of the
The previous pandemic.
previous
And
pandemic.
then solve it the same way.
Yeah, and then not even have the capacity to solve it just
Yeah.
because we aren't as prepared enough. Because people often have this mindset, especially in hospitals or in the health sectors, in which the pandemic is done. Like, this is a time for you to, you know, go back to normal. But then when we go to the new normal, which is, you know, something that
Yeah,
people struggle
new
to
normal.
accept,
Mm.
Sounds like an oxymoron, right? New
Yeah.
normal,
Yeah.
right?
Super normal.
Yeah.
when you go to the new normal, it also what comes with that is understanding that you learn from your past mistakes,
Mhm.
and not just personally, but I think as a nation,
Yeah.
as a whole,
Yeah.
we should learn from. For example, the tourism industry here in the Philippines is booming,
Mhm.
and I know that after the pandemic, with the gates reopening and everything like that, everyone's eager. But we shouldn't compromise the safety of us Filipinos and the safety of the tourists who come here as well. And so I think that safety measures and how people sanitize, even in salons, in anything, in hotels, in the hospitality sector, we should not compromise
Yeah.
safety in that sense just because the pandemic's over. Because Mpox came, like, we didn't know the Mpox would happen as well. So I think it's important for us to not compromise.
And then
that.
I remember underestimating
Yeah, exactly.
the COVID-19. Right? I remember.
Oh, yeah.
2 weeks rin
I remember watching it on CNN, right? And I was watching it. Okay, fine. You know, like, whatever. You know, like,
Yeah.
you know, it's just being media being alarmist and all of that stuff. We underestimated it, but you know, lo and behold,
Super.
2 years after, we were
then
still
it
in
hit us like a truck.
Yeah, exactly. So
So,
how
yeah.
about you? How about you, Justine? What do you
Yeah.
think? What do you think are the lessons that we can learn from COVID-19 that we can apply for future pandemics? Maybe perhaps COVID-19, Mpox.
Simbako, no? I'm really knocking on wood that that's going to become a thing. But
Okay.
yeah, we have to be prepared. So
Yeah.
I like how Jaden made use of a macro perspective of like how, you know, the government and other big businesses can, you know, learn from the mistakes that we made in the previous pandemic and then apply them to this, hopefully not gonna happen, a pandemic.
Okay.
But I think from a macro perspective now on like individuals,
Micro.
micro rather, thank you. Kanang individual perspective, I think we really need to keep up looking over our shoulder and really just being extra careful. You can never be too prepared in such a way that the things that we take for granted, like taking vitamins, taking wearing masks in public spaces,
Showering.
yeah, that's even just like a bare minimum na gid ba?
Yeah.
Bringing alcohol, washing your hands after every encounter. Those are things that I feel like ang sakit manggod sa mga tao karon Jiggy is you only apply those when you're sick na. Or when everyone starts to panic, diha na ta mo
Guilty.
palit og mask, diha na ta mo palit og alcohol,
Yeah.
diha na ta mong, we wash our hands after every encounter. That shouldn't be the case.
Okay.
I think that I'm glad na in my family, the practices from the pandemic, we still carry it until now. Like
Okay.
my brother, my dad, they never walk around without alcohol. They have like this alcohol sprayer
Yeah.
attached to their belt everywhere they
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
We still wear masks in public spaces and if we're in public
If
transport.
we're sick, because we don't want to infect
If we're
others.
sick, yeah, we don't want to get other people sick. We take our vitamins every day. These are things na have become our new normal already. So I don't think na
We
it
should
be-
stop that, right?
Yeah,
We should continue
You know,
that.
every time we get groceries, we still wash them.
We still wash
It's the new normal. Yeah. Every time,
What do
we
you mean,
don't
like, what do
put
you mean by-
packages on the bed.
What do you mean by wash them? Like,
Like if, for
Yeah.
example, we buy a bag of chips
okay.
and we want to watch
Hugasan ninyo?
Yeah.
Yes.
Saan niyo po like labha like,
Like, we
so,
wash with
soap and
yeah.
water?
Soap, yeah. Or we wipe it with alcohol
Wow.
before we bring it to our rooms. Like,
Wow.
because we never know. Like somebody probably touched. So I think
Yeah,
people should still practice that.
Not probably. Somebody did touch it, right?
Or we
Yeah.
disinfect our phones after going out.
Yeah, like right now, when we get home, before we put this phone in our
Spray,
bed,
spray.
disinfect it. We don't bring the same clothes that we wear outside inside. We always shower. We
Yeah.
never like enter our room or lay on our beds without if we came from an
Showering.
outside space without showering. So I think that became our new normal.
Yeah, and then now talking about it,
it seems weird.
it seems weird, but we realized we had been
for
doing
our
that for the
family-
past 2 years or something that
Yeah,
the
and-
pandemic has ended.
Exactly, and we would hate to be in a place man good is like I think the practice of I don't know if I want to generalize, make a sweeping statement of all Filipinos. Kana bitang mo prepare when kung naibagyo
Yeah.
diha na
Yeah,
gyud
yeah.
mag-stock of
Disaster,
batteries.
Yeah.
o-
yeah.
We don't want to be in that
Yeah.
state.
That
so-
defeats the purpose
Well,
of preparedness in
Yeah.
itself.
Well, you know, there's the opposite of that. At the extreme of that, I mean, is
A
like a
doomsday
doomsday
prepper.
prepper, right? They have like a bunker of food for
Too much na sad.
2 years and whatnot, right? And
Honestly, I
Orders.
don't find that wrong, Baya.
yeah, but that's the extreme, right? I mean, like
Yeah.
you can't you know, prepare for the end of the world every day. Although some people are,
Yeah, but
right?
you know who I think will
but there's
thrive?
there's a middle ground for that, right?
Yeah, the middle ground people, the ones who will thrive, are
Yeah.
people like Jiggy,
Yeah.
and Nini, because
Yeah.
What about
Jiggy can grow his own food. Like he knows
You
how
can
to
grow my
vegetables
own
food?
and
grow my own food?
Yeah, diba?
Okay, all right.
like you know how to
in my armpit.
Oh!
Live on that.
Oh!
No, Jiggy knows how to. That's the thing, Jiggy, that I think we
Yeah.
should have learned from the pandemic.
Yeah.
Na, unfortunately, Jaden, black thumb, good
Black-
me.
Yeah.
We can't grow crap.
Hey,
Jiggy.
we tried.
Okay.
We tried. I grew arugula and
Wow,
basil.
wow.
and mongoose.
Yeah.
They were died like after a
Yours
month.
died.
Yeah,
Yours didn't
mine-
even grow.
Did you guys
Yeah.
actually eat it? No, the arugula.
I ate the arugula.
Really?
Basil.
It tasted
Ate
like
basil.
rubber band, and
Oh,
I didn't like
I
it.
love arugula.
Really?
I love
But
arugula.
Jiggy grow. What do you grow sa imuhang kanang farm? Diba, Jiggy?
Well,
cucumber.
and sometimes
Tomato?
calamansi, sometimes eggplant.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
See, so that's one thing we should have learned from the pandemic
Yeah.
that we need to keep up with.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I remember everybody was a plantito and a plantita,
Yeah,
right?
because
Yeah.
grocery stores were
Yeah.
lisod man to get.
We were forced to make
Yeah.
our own.
And plus, it's healthy to have plants all over your house, right?
Yeah.
And animals too.
Yeah.
We need to learn that. We need to learn that now.
Yeah. What do you mean animals?
Like learning how to farm.
Yeah. You mean like livestock? You mean like
Yeah.
animals?
Chicken.
I was thinking about Cooper and then
Oh, you never
Animals?
know when we'll
What-
need to cook Cooper
Oh!
or Paris.
Be-
Chew on my own leg.
sinigang nga chihuahua.
Oh,
That sounds yummy.
No, I'd rather chew my own arm off, Jiggy. I don't care. It comes down to me or Paris. I'll let Paris eat me.
oh,
Oh
That's
no.
how much I love her.
You know. I like this conversation because we're not pressing the panic button. We're just talking about it, and we're just reminding everybody. Smrug soft reminder lang bang, hey, this is what we did during the
Uh-huh.
pandemic. This is what happened, and this could be it or may not be. Hopefully not it, but at least we're ready, right?
Exactly.
Right?
I
And-
wouldn't even say soft reminder.
Yeah.
Like what?
You know what
So
they
what
say?
If it's a hard reminder.
Yeah.
Remind.
yeah. For me, if you fail to prepare, you're preparing to fail.
Yeah. And if there's one thing we learned about history is that nobody learns from history, right? Right? Like World War. Think about this for a while. What we have done as a people.
That's
There was
true.
World War One, right? That
we
was
still had it too.
that was a horrible thing, right?
Uh-huh.
Millions of people died, and we had World War Two,
or like the Spanish influenza,
Yeah.
the bubonic plague,
Yeah,
and then COVID-19.
and then we're on the brink of a third one. So we don't really learn, right? Why is that? Why do you think that is? Why do you think people never learn? Why is that? Why is that? When you look back at history, this is
Why do we never
this is
learn?
actual data, right?
Yeah.
We never learn. Why is that?
Well, I'm gonna be honest.
Okay.
It's gonna sound a little harsh, but
okay.
I think it's
Harsh
because
is good. Okay.
we tend to have a hard time learning from mistakes of other people.
Mhm.
I feel like it's easier for us to learn from our own mistakes.
Mhm.
But for example, if we're told, for example, as a youngest child,
Okay.
oh, this is becoming, as a youngest child,
Okay.
I still make the same mistakes as Teen makes.
Mhm.
And for me, it's more of because not that I didn't learn from her mistake, but then I have my own mistakes to make. For example, just an example, not that this happens, okay? If Astin doesn't shower,
yeah.
Oh no!
That's,
Oh.
Again,
If-
fictional.
Fictional?
heavy on if.
Okay.
If she doesn't shower,
Okay. Like how many weeks?
like for 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay.
Right. And then my mom tells me, oh, don't be like your sister. Make sure you shower.
Oh.
And then I go 2 weeks without showering also.
Oh no.
And And then I realized that,
So how did
Based
it,
on a true story, Jaden.
how did it feel like not bathing for 2 weeks, Justine?
yeah, tell us, because
tell
I
us.
wouldn't know.
I wouldn't know, but tell us like, how's the past 2 weeks, Jaden?
You're not the. I'm not the one stinking up this room.
One of the biggest mistakes that we all make as Homo sapiens is that we think that every day is the same day. We think that every day tomorrow is going to be the same, right? Tomorrow it is going to be the same tomorrow as yesterday. Blah 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 blah. But every day is different.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be different, and we need to prepare for that, right? And that's probably one of our biggest mistakes, right? Because we think that this is going to be the same day as today. Everything's going to be fine and dandy.
And then life hits us like a truck.
Yeah, and then
boom.
we're not ready.
We never know.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even say soft reminder. Hard remind ourselves, like, let's not be too
There's
complacent.
nothing you lose in being prepared, honestly, in anything.
Well, preparing also requires time.
Money.
And resources, right? So that's what you're going to lose. You know what I mean? So you have to.
I mean,
you have to prioritize, right?
To be realistic, are you really losing it though?
What do you mean?
If you use,
I'll give you an example, okay? The generator, right? Everybody bought a generator,
okay.
right? And during the pandemic, everybody bought a generator, right? And like if you bought a generator, that's a huge investment, right? And when are you going to use that again? After 10 years? After 5 years, maybe? You know what I mean? And maybe the generator,
you know what?
it breaks down, for example, right? So you just lost that much money for something that you only used like for a week, maybe, or for
you're
a month.
paying for the assurance lang.
Yeah.
You're paying for the backup plan.
Yeah.
The what if?
how insurance works?
Yeah, I don't.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Diba? Marag, you're paying for the what if lang ba?
Yeah.
The assurance that you have nga. If something happens, you have the generator.
Yeah.
The peace of mind.
But I get Jiggy's point. But until you get to use it, it's pretty much just like...
I think in
Cha-ching.
preparing for disasters or in general, emergencies in general, you have to strike a balance between making wise investments as well. Because, for example, if you were to buy this machine that would help you, for example, like an AED.
Mm-hmm. What's an AED? Like, those
the
breathing devices? Yeah,
defibrillator,
defibrillator, yeah.
So when you buy it, it costs a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So expensive.
It's so expensive.
Like, how
And
much
then,
is it?
Like around 100K?
Okay.
Yeah, like
Almost
that.
200K?
It's really expensive. And when you make that kind of investment, you think, you can only use it once or twice. But then at the same time, the cost of a life is priceless.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think a lot of us have to remember that in using our, because mga tihik man mi, Filipinos were tihik. But
And a
we
lot
have
of
to
responders
remember
would.
that with our resources, you can't buy another life.
Uh-huh.
And so is it really, the question you ask yourself is, are your resources really going to waste? Are you really losing them if you're using it to save another life?
That's nice. That's a good
That's my perspective
Yeah,
personally.
but
Tihik ka ba?
yeah, but again, we're factoring in human tendencies as people, right?
That's true.
So that's good because we always have to factor that in. Every time we make a decision, we have to factor in the human factor, right?
Yeah.
And kanang pagkatihik na to, that's part of who we are.
Yeah,
And
Hindi
definitely.
man siya human, Jiggy. Alien man siya.
Alien man ko.
what from what sector of the Milky Way galaxy?
Honestly, I'm not allowed to say, otherwise it would, defeat the purpose of my mission.
Oh,
So.
I'm sorry to say that. Anyway, you know what? Kuya Magic is already here. He's getting ready for the magic hour.
Let's go.
Yeah, we're already eating up his time. So get ready for the magic hour. But before I let you go, guys, Jaden, you're now 18 years old. You have a new song that just came out a few days ago. Too Good to Be True. Is that what it's called?
Yes, that's what it's
Yeah.
called.
Tell us about where they can find you, how they can support you, because 105.1 TMC, Justine, myself, and Kuya Magic, we're forming a support group of people who support local artists like yourself, right? And you're also part of the family in many ways, being the sister of Justine Narvios. So what is next? What is up next with JADEN NARVIOS? Tell everybody. Go ahead.
Honestly, I'm still figuring out what's next for me, but I think what I took away from our conversation today is that we really have to be open-minded and ready for what's to come in general. So I'm really excited to see what's to come, not just for this summer, but in college and in life as an 18-year-old. And you can find my music. You can stream my music, my new song, Too Good to Be True, on any digital streaming platforms, whether it be Spotify, Apple Music, or even on YouTube. So yeah, you can find me at JADEN NARVIOS on Instagram, Jaden the Alien on TikTok, and and Jaden Narvios on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what, Jaden? You're too good to be true.
Aw, thank you.
Yeah.
105.1 TMC.
The best of us. Thank you for having us. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Get ready for Kuya Magic. The magic.